Peace.
Peace.
This is Joshua Miller Law, Mr. PhD. You're just now entering the cipher called Real2reel360. KYs.
Peace, God.
Bring that beat in, kid.
Indeed.
Peace.
Yeah. What's going on, party people? Welcome to the Real2reel360 show. Let's get it in. We do the knowledge of wisdom so you can understand. Real2reel360 shows in full command. We changing the game for how it all was taught. From bondage to freedom to an independent thought. Yo, the show is here to bring about a change for real. To lighten everyone so we all know the deal. 360 degrees is a fact. We created the show to give our love back to our communities so we can know what's going on and give them the support from knowledge to born. So if you're ready to learn, then it's time to go. Sit back and relax and enjoy our show. Peace.
Peace to Allah's mighty 5% nation of gods on earth. To all the human families of the planet Earth, we bid you a love, peace, and happiness high salute. I am DJ KY's Allah, a.k.a. Kato, the Black Superhero. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Real2reel360 show. It's a dynamic one, y'all. If you ain't learned a lesson, you're going to learn it today. Like they say, you're going to learn today. So let's get it crunk. Let's get it started. And I'm going to bring on my co-host with the most, none other than my brother in God. Y'all know
Am I the
is.
meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this time?
Sure enough.
But who am I?
Joshua Miller Law.
Who am I?
Joshua Miller Law.
I can't hear you.
Joshua Miller Law, Mr. PhD.
Peace.
Peace to all our followers and listeners and subscribers. Make sure that you grab a pen, and also tell a friend that we will have a magnificent show today. When we start out today, want to tell everybody to like and subscribe, but we also want individuals to make sure that they have an open mind and be ready to take in a lot of information. Because today we have this young lady who is more like a relationship coach to help individuals get out of their own way and forge a better relationship with their spouse or even trying to get into a dating situation. So today, won't you clap your hands, get yourself together for Miss Anita P. Stoudemire.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. Welcome.
Good afternoon, good evening. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here.
Well, Ms. Stoudemire, could you do me a favor and introduce yourself to our followers and listeners to let them know who you are and a snippet of what you do?
So by day, I am a full-time therapist. I have a private practice here in Richmond, Virginia, and I see clients, full-time in my practice. But outside of that, I am an Instagram influencer. I am a podcast host. I have a YouTube channel, and my platform is called Better Love Movement. And so I am very passionate about dating, relationships, teaching people the tools and the skills that they're going to need to have really great relationships, long-term, fulfilling, happy relationships. So that's a little bit about me. I am a mom to 3 young adults. I have a dog, 3 cats. I love to garden. I love to cook. I love to travel. I'm just a girl at heart, love to have fun. I love to laugh. And I'm just a girl at heart, but I am most passionate about helping our people, have good love, like 80s, 90s love again.
Definitely. What influenced you to go into this direction? What was it about relationships and things of that nature to make you want to go in that route?
So I've been formally studying dating and relationships for the last 20 years, but you could say that it was my own experience in relationships, having my own marriage end. That was about 20 years ago, and just wanting to learn all of the secrets, all of the tools and the relationship skills on what it's going to take to be in a happy, healthy relationship or marriage and have that relationship last. So you could say it was for selfish reasons. I learned so that I could become very good at relationships. And then I also teach people about relationships.
So, what are some of the keys that we need to have to sustain, obtain, and also keep relationships going?
So, what most people don't realize is that relationships are so important. They're the thing we're going to be in from birth till death.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it interesting that people will learn how to do just about any and everything except for how to be in a healthy relationship. So that entails choosing good people. A lot of us don't know how to choose good, safe people. And then let's say we chose a good, safe person. We now have to have the skills necessary to maintain that relationship long term or for however long it's going to last. So it is really that important. And here's what science tells us, that when our relationships are great, the rest of our life is pretty great. And so that's how important it is. And I just wish people put more emphasis on learning healthy relationship skills.
Now, you guys spoke about meeting the safe person, the right person. How do you know when that person is the right or safe person?
So you are going to, number one, you're going to be your most authentic, vulnerable self. Because people who are real, people who are vulnerable, people who are direct in how they communicate, they tend to run off people who are not safe. They tend to run off narcissists. They run off sociopaths, psychopaths. They run off people who are emotionally unavailable. And so the first step to this journey is you have to be a safe person. You have to be a genuine, authentic, very direct communicator, very vulnerable. You have to kind of show up, being your real self, letting people know who you are, what you're about, what you want. And that will run off a whole lot of people that don't mean you any good. They're not used to that, especially in 2023. So
Now,
yeah, it's that important.
now, when you talk about emotionally unavailable people, how do a person become emotionally unavailable when we all are born with certain senses and certain unique feelings of wanting to be cared for and loved? How do you come into being emotionally unavailable?
Well, I mean, it's your experiences, your traumas. So you can, I talk to people a lot about attachment style, and attachment style is rooted in your childhood. So it could come from your family of origin. It could come from your young adult relationships with, romantic or friendship. But none of us are born this way. We're made this way. And we have different experiences with our family members or our friends, our romantic love interests, and it's trauma. It's trauma. And I understand where people are, like I said, especially in 2023. I said this just the other day to a client. I said, people live within three buckets. There's three buckets of people. You have people who are bad people. I'm just going to be honest. And that's about 5%. Those are your narcissists. Those are your psychopaths or your sociopaths. That's about 3 to 5% of people. The biggest bucket of people are people who are wounded or traumatized. That's probably about 60%, 65% of people. And then you have that third bucket, which is, here's the interesting thing. Those people are wounded or traumatized too, but one, they're self-aware, and two, they're healing. So that's the third bucket. We've all been traumatized. We've all had bad things happen. We've had breakups, we've had divorces, we've had someone pass away, we've had some trauma from our childhood. That's all of us. But it's this third bucket of people. They're actually aware. They actually want to heal. They want to do something about it. They're in a process of, I'm healing or I'm moving through it. But these are the people, especially today, that you want to try to connect with, because the biggest bucket of people, those are people who are wounded or traumatized, but either one, they're not aware of it, or two, they're not doing anything about it.
Now, a lot of times when people embark on relationships, the first thing they say that they have a wall built up. Now, what is this wall, and how do you determine that there's a wall built up, and how do you determine how you can bring it down?
I mean, that's another way of saying they're emotionally unavailable.
Right.
That's actually what they're saying. I'm not emotionally available. I'm not going to be vulnerable. I'm not going to really show you who I am. I have trust issues. That's like a catchphrase now. People say, I have trust issues. Okay, what are you doing about it? Like, I don't have any problems with that. My question is, what are you doing about it? If you're just walking around saying, I have a wall, or, I'm not available, I have trust issues, I'm guarded. These are some of the things I hear people say all the time. I'm very guarded, I have trust issues. Okay. And there's no judgment there. But my next question is, what are you doing about it? And so you have the option to, read a book about it. You can go to therapy. You can watch, YouTube videos or listen to podcasts. You can follow therapists and other dating and relationship coaches on social media. We're always putting out content teaching people how to heal those wounds, how to become more emotionally available. So it's really what you're doing about it. But yeah, people have bad experiences. And unfortunately, those bad experiences colors their worldview. People are seen as dangerous. People are seen as, they will hurt me. And so their walls go up. But as I like to tell people, I don't want you to have walls, but I do want you to have boundaries. And a boundary is like a fence, right? You can see over it. You can, it tells you where my property is and you can see over it, but it's also keeping me safe.
Well, when you speak about keeping a person safe, is that the emotional, mental, the different variables that plays inside a relationship? Now, what is it when people lead with the physical part of the relationship first, then expect a mental connection or emotional connection? How can we alleviate some of those issues?
Right. Again, people who are emotionally unavailable, they will try to turn it on its head. Right. And I always tell men and women, that's actually a big sign that someone's not emotionally available. If they're moving too fast physically, that person is not emotionally available. And think about it like this: physical intimacy is fake intimacy. Sex is fake intimacy. That's not real intimacy. But there are plenty of people out here that they're willing to have fake intimacy. Like, they're not ready for any real emotional intimacy. They're not ready for people to see inside of them, or for them to see inside of people. So in their mind's eye, okay, I'm going to be physical with this person, and it's kind of a sort of fake, it's kind of sort of intimate, but it's not real intimacy. It's not emotionally intimate, spiritually intimate. So I really, discourage people from leading with being physical too soon. Especially women. I'm always telling women, a man needs to have a bridge. He needs to build a bridge, and you're not going to become physically intimate until that bridge is built and he's at least halfway across it. But a bridge has to be built, because if not, bad things happen, So, and in all honesty, I have a lot of single male clients, and I've actually been teaching them similar lessons. And they've been saying, wow, I thought this is what you tell women. I said, look, I want you to honor your body just like I want her to honor her body. I don't want you to give your body away to every woman, and I don't want her to give her body away to every man. So I've been like really talking to men about this. Like, don't sell yourself cheap.
Right. Now, a lot of times, like we're talking about, individuals expect something from that. How can we change? How can we change the narrative, whereas we're putting a mental and emotional connection in the forefront than a physical one.
I mean, you do. I had a video go viral where I talked about, stop letting the culture determine what your dating style is. Like, I don't let the culture determine how I'm going to date. I get to determine how I'm going to date. Sometimes it's called old fashioned, or, it's been called all kinds of things. However, that's how I date. I don't believe in having casual sex, and I am going to attempt to get to know you emotionally, spiritually, and in all these other ways. I'm going to attempt to do that first. I'm going to attempt to build some sort of friendship. I'm going to see if I even like you. There are people out here who are sexually intimate and they don't even like the person. So that's important to me, that I like the person. And so you simply state that yeah, I'm looking for something that's genuine. I'm looking for something that's, on a deeper level. And so, that's not something that I'm willing to do right now, or we're not there yet. Yeah.
What about, let me ask this. What about outside interference, or what I like to call the monkeys in the barrel syndrome, or the spiral down effect, where you have people who whisper other things in your ear, and that formulates what may seem like you are, but you're not. But just because of, let's say for old time's sake situations, people don't want to see your change, but they want to talk about you still being the same even after you make change.
Right. And that's, to me, that's a I need to change my circle problem. Like, you may need to change your circle. One of the things that I posted the other day was that one of the saddest things about healing is that it will eliminate people from our life. And honestly, I think that's why people don't heal. That's the first thing that's going to happen. When you heal, when you do work, people are going to go away. They're going to go away. You may even have a period of loneliness when you heal, when you get your mind in a good state, when you lift your vibration to a really good state. There's some people that are going to fall off, and it's necessary. It's necessary to becoming the best version of you. And so, that's I am, what is it, the mean average of the 5 people in my circle. So I got to make sure I have 5 people in my circle that are pretty like-minded. I always encourage women. I have a women's group that meets on Saturday, and they'll say to me, yeah, I have some girlfriends that, they'll say things like, oh, if you're not sleeping with him, someone else will, or, you got to do this, this, and this. I said, okay, well, that's not someone you want to be in your circle. You want to be in a circle with like-minded people that are all doing the same thing, because that will wear you down. That will wear you down. The dirty water does not make the clean water. The clean water doesn't make the dirty water clean. It's, the dirty water is going to make all the water dirty. So yeah, I don't have women around me like that, like I said, because I don't let the culture determine what I'm going to do. I determine what I'm going to do.
Now, what do you say about individuals, how are more, there's more single older individuals than there are younger individuals, like in the early 18s, then they 20s, and even the 30s, and then once they fall off, it seems like when they get in their 40s, everybody's single again. Everybody in their 50s, it's a bunch of men trip, it's a bunch of girls trips, it's a bunch of everything but a he and her trip. So what do you say about that?
Well, and this makes me sad. I'm in a different generation. I grew up in the 80s and the early 90s. And, sometimes I laugh. I've been on other panels talking about this, and I laugh. And, the latest thing that's happening is the Freaknik documentary is coming out. That was in my heyday. Like
Right. Right. Right.
I went down there, and usually quiet as kept. I was the chaperone. So I was the chaperone of my crew. I didn't, get into any foolishness, but I definitely made sure other people were safe. And
Right.
so that's very nostalgic for me because I was like, oh man, this is going to be interesting to see what
Right.
happens.
Right. I remember the
But
freak book.
yeah. I remember it well. And so but in the 80s, in the 90s, the music was different, the vibe
Mhm.
was different. It was a love vibe. It
Mhm.
was men and women coming together. It was a love vibe. It was a marriage vibe. It was a vibe. And
Mhm.
we don't have that today. We don't have that. And even the people that are in my age bracket, it's like they've forgotten. They've forgotten that, we didn't come from this. We came from a love vibe. We
Mhm.
came from the crooners, everybody, singing about love.
Right.
And now everything has changed. And so you got Gen Zs, Gen Xs, like they're, or I should say Gen Zs and millennials. I'm a Gen Xer, but they're on something totally different. They're on something totally different. I'd like to see Gen Xers and above Gen Ys, I'd like to see them get back to how they came up, which
Mhm.
is coming together, doing life together. We are better together.
Mhm.
And this idea of this hyper independent being on your own, like they're not going to like where that's going to lead them in 10 or 15 years. They're not. They're
No.
not. We're better together. And we need to drop all this stuff we got going on. We need to do our healing work and
Mhm.
we need to come together. And I believe, people younger than us need to do it as well. But our community has gotten away from marriage. Marriage is all but non-existent because of family law and, other reasons. There's lots of reasons,
Mhm.
but people don't want to get married. People don't want to, come together and try to build something together. And so that's something I talk about a lot. I take a lot of heat about that over on Instagram, but
Mhm.
I'm going to keep talking about that. We
Well,
have to see the importance of marriage again.
why do you honestly think that that is the case? Whereas our generation is not looking at being married again, or they're bringing baggage into the relationships that's forcing it not to last long. Let's you know see what that issue really is about.
Well, this is what I think is so interesting about 2023. We have more resources. We have more education than ever. We have never been so connected. I mean, I can literally go on this computer and
Mhm.
find an answer for anything.
Mhm.
And yet we're not utilizing these resources.
Right.
And so that's what I want to see change. Like YouTube University, we're on YouTube. That's a free education. You can become a plumber, an electrician, you can, a gardener, you can do anything. And yet we're not utilizing all the resources we have.
Mhm.
You got podcasts, you've got social media, you've got all these resources, but we're not using the resources.
But
And
wouldn't you also say that with all the technology, what is really missing is the roots and foundation from which all these things came from? Because
right.
before all this technology we had big mamas, big daddies
No.
that taught, and we saw the unification. We saw the
Yep.
tightness. We had that family structure back then.
Yeah.
But you see, today's big mamas and little mamas are in the clubs with their daughters and sons.
Yep.
They're throwing barbecues and all that stuff and smoking and drinking with their children. I don't see and with all these resources, it's
I
like
know.
they still lost about what is the basic root and foundation of love itself.
Right. Right. And that's interesting you say that because I was going to allude to that the people of my generation and older, not all of them, but some of
Mhm.
them, they've lost the ability to lead. Like nothing irritates me more than seeing someone my age, a woman my age, trying to do what a 20-year-old is doing. No, 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 sweetheart. I have sense enough to tell you, okay, what you need to be doing.
Mhm.
Like that's not gonna happen. So I'm not following you. You're gonna follow me.
Mhm.
Like I have sense in my head. So I don't know where that comes from. This idea that, 50, 60-year-old women want to be 20-year-old women. No, no, I'm imparting wisdom to the next generation. So I don't understand where that comes from. I don't, but I see it
Mhm.
a lot. I see it a lot. Women who don't want to grow old gracefully, men who don't want to grow old gracefully. They don't want to lead. They don't want to take their rightful place as leaders. They should be leading younger people. They should have sense in their head to know not to wear that, not to go there, not to twerk on that. Like, no, 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 no. It disappoints me.
You had touched on the point of the music isn't the same.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We grew up on, like you said, love music, relationship
Mhm.
music, and we also grew up on having our own music that
Yeah.
was separated from our parents' music and things like
Hmm.
that. Now all the music is meshed together.
Yep. Yep.
So when you go to the club, even if you're at a 35 and up or 40 and up, you're listening to the same music the individuals at the 18 and up are
Yeah.
listening to.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
not listening to the music from your generation or anything like that. So do you think that that music and subliminal messages play a big
Mhm.
part
Yep.
in the relationship fails?
For sure. For sure. Because think about it. This is a vibration. This is an energy.
Hmm.
Music is an energy. And there have been many studies done on low vibrational music, them playing that music to, inanimate objects or food or whatever, and that rotting the food quicker than music that has a higher vibration.
Hmm.
So for sure, I know that has a lot to do with it. But as I tell, my young adults, I don't listen to the radio. I put on my music. I
Hmm.
put on my music or music that I deem, even if it's current day music, it's good music.
Hmm.
I don't listen to low vibrational music. I don't, because it will damage, like you say, it gets in you and it will damage like your common sense, and
Mhm.
you'll start thinking about it. So here's a perfect example. And not to knock Chris Brown, but Chris Brown came out with a song. It's been a while now, maybe, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. It was called These Hoes Ain't Loyal.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
And I remember hearing that and I was like, this why we have the right here, this song right here.
Hmm.
That was the antithesis of everything I had been telling people. And I mean, everybody was bumping that. Everybody was bumping that. I heard it in the bowling alley. I heard it. I mean, everywhere I went, I heard that song. They took out the word hose,
Mhm.
but they was playing that song everywhere.
So
And
they
I,
thrive off of the negative energy.
yes. And
Mhm.
I was like, man, this is some dark stuff. Like, this is dark. Wow. So yeah, I remember that. And I remember that's when it kind of dawned on me, like, oh my gosh, we're going in the wrong direction. Like, we're not gonna like where we going.
Right.
Yeah. And look at where we are. That song came out maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Look at where we are.
Now, I know we had coming up, you had the underground music,
Hmm.
right? Akinelli had a song back in the day that was real explicit, but most of your explicit songs were not played on the radio.
Right,
Mhm.
They
right,
had FCC rights where
right.
they wouldn't allow them to play. But now is everything is out there, women disrespecting each other.
Oh,
And the major thing that I was going to ask you, what do you think about these pronouns of calling each other bruh? Females calling each other bruh, males calling each other bruh.
mm,
So how can you be in a relationship with your bruh?
right, right. So one of the other things that I do on my platform is I teach old school polarity. And old school polarity means that I am the girl, I am the feminine in the relationship,
Hmm.
and I seek to connect with a masculine. I seek to connect with a masculine man, but I am the girl. I am the girl. That is the role that I fulfill. And I'm a very good feminine. It is easy for me to follow the leadership of a healthy masculine man. It is easy for me to submit. And I know that's a very dirty word. But it is easy for me to do that, especially if I choose someone that I trust, if I choose someone that I respect. I have no problem. I have no problem being led, and I am the girl. But again, these are very old school, old fashioned concepts. That's what a lot of younger people tell me. But here's what I know for sure: it works. It works. People are happy. Women are happy when they are in a relationship with a strong masculine leader.
I want to
They
go
don't.
back. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I
Yeah.
want to go back to that. You said submit, and you said the dirty word. What makes it dirty is not the word itself. It's the
Right.
misinterpretation of the true root of submittance within that
Right.
word. Most people have taken it and conformed it into a dirty thought of enslavement and
Right.
certain things. But when it comes to relationships, that word submit is, like you said, it's follow the lead, it's unification. When the
Hmm.
submittance is added to the equation, if you submit, and not saying you have to, it's not a bow down measurement, it's not
Right.
a weakened state of who's better, this, that, it's a companionship commitment within each other.
Hmm.
It's the giving of one and receiving within another to me. And when you give and receive, if you submit to your man, you won't have problems.
That's it.
And the man
That's
will
it.
submit to his woman in ways to let her
Right.
know she's secured
Yep.
through the submittance. But see, a lot of people misconstrue the word submit.
Mm. Yeah, they do. And if you're under 30, 35, that's the dirtiest word ever. How dare you?
Mhm.
How dare you talk about submitting? And yet, here's what's interesting. We go to work and submit. We go to church and submit. We go to all these other places and submit. But for
Mhm.
some reason, we can't do that in our intimate relationship. Hmm.
Now, touching on submission, and like my brother said, that it's an equal situation.
Hmm.
Well, men and women both submit to each other
That's right.
to make things work. Now, when you in a relationship, and how do you work on? You're going to always have issues, but how do you work on the situations where you're you're going back and forth? How do you have that conversation that's needed to have without hurting each other's feelings?
I mean, communication, that's one of the most important skills that couples need to learn. They
Mhm,
need to learn how to effectively communicate.
mhm,
The truth of the matter is, we're all communicating verbally or non verbally. They just
mhm,
don't have the skill to know how to do it effectively. And so that's one of the things that I do teach my singles, my couples, is how to effectively communicate. And, words have power.
mhm,
How we say it, the tone in which we say it, all of that matters. All of that matters. But one of the things that I encourage single men and single women to do is these are concepts you're going to discuss before getting in a relationship. So
Mhm.
before I'm in a relationship, I let the man know, like, this is the setup that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in leading. I'm not interested in chasing or pursuing him. I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not wired to do it. I'm the girl, last I
mhm,
checked, and I want to be the receiver. I want him to be the giver.
mhm,
I believe women are designed to give back. That's how
mhm,
that role is supposed to happen. A man gives and a woman gives back.
mhm.
That is the reciprocity within a relationship. But these are all
Mhm.
conversations that people need to have before getting in a relationship. Is, what do you think about that? What do you think about the idea of, I'm going to be our leader. I'm going to be the head of household, or I'm going to, do you trust me? Do you trust my judgment? So
Now, with even with that, we talk about head of household and roles that individuals play in a relationship. Also, too, the communication and discussing the household with one another plays a major part as well, right?
yeah, for sure. For sure. And you need to sit down and have those conversations. Again, the statistics, the data, because I'm a big data person, and I, throw out data, I throw out stats, but I let people know that when the roles are traditional, those are relationships or marriages that are actually most fulfilling. Because again, I don't believe women were designed to do what men do. I know I'm not.
Right.
I'm not designed to do what a man does. I am designed to be a woman. I believe the hardest thing I was put on this planet to do was to have a baby. And so thankfully, that's what God, created in me to do. But yeah, and I want us to embrace that again. I think the reason why there's so much, disorder and chaos is because we're trying to reinvent the wheel. And when we think about it, we've been doing this for thousands of years. And why is it in the last 10 or 20 years, everything has blown up? So clearly we were onto something. And I love to give this statistic. So our African-American community in 1955, 76% of us were married. In 2023, we are down to 31%. That is abhorrent, in my opinion. That's a huge problem.
What are the major causes and effects to that, as far as within the statistical data?
I mean, just a lot of single mother-headed households, a lot of children being raised by single mothers, financial instability. Do we want to talk about that? Yeah, it's insane. It's yeah, we're undereducated. I mean, all kind of issues. And we have to get back to basics. We have to get back to basics and stop trying to reinvent the wheel. And coming up with all these alternative, and what about polygamy and polygyny, and no. Why are y'all doing this? Trying to make life harder than it has to be.
Right. Now,
So
we talk about the having relationships, but what do you say to the fact that people get in relationships when they're young, they grow apart, and now they're back in the club. Now they're back in the bars. Now they're back searching, what I'm saying, for whatever they're searching for. What do you say to that? And because we see it all the time, not just women, but men as well. And growing up, we used to always say, I didn't ever want to be that old man in the
right in the
club.
club. Yep.
Right? And now it has gotten to that point where we are the old men, the old uncle, the old grandpa in the club.
The old OG.
Yeah, searching. And now you're mixing in with a younger demographic that hasn't experienced what you've experienced.
Right. Yeah, I hate to see it. I really do. I want these older men and gentlemen, men and women. I want the older men and women to meet in some other way, some age appropriate way. Because I hate to see it. I mean, I don't go to clubs. I don't go to bars. I don't meet people that way. I meet people through activities or festivals or different events that I go to. That's how I meet people. I meet people at age appropriate. Yeah, I'm not going to the club. I'm not going to the bar. I meet people at the post office, at the DMV. I meet them at Target. I just meet them,
Right.
And that's what I recommend. I don't recommend trying to, like you said, go to a place where they're going to be all different age levels. I just don't recommend that. So when I'm coaching someone and they're saying, where can I go to meet men? Where can I go to meet women? I give them all of the places that I go. And I say, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem meeting men or meeting women. I don't have a problem being friendly. I don't have a problem smiling. I want to encourage you to smile. I want to encourage men to approach and just, oh, you like someone I should get to know. Hi, my name is Curtis, right?
Right.
Because, and again, I know this is what you did in the 90s.
Right.
Why aren't you doing that now? Like, this is because back in the 80s and the 90s, it was a game.
Right.
It was a game. Okay, bro. We going in here. We're gonna see how many numbers we can get. I bet you I'm gonna get these numbers. I bet you I'm gonna get like it was a game. Why can't we go back to that? Like make it fun again.
According.
Yeah. That's what I tell people, and they're like, well, I mean, I don't know. And the dating app, no, stay off them dating apps.
There you go.
I was just
Stay off them dating apps.
I was just going to touch on that. All these different dating apps that they have these speed dating sessions that they have out now.
Yep.
There's so many ways to meet a person,
right,
without even actually meeting a person.
Yeah. Yeah. You want a fact? You want a clinical fact about dating apps? So number one, 95% of people that are on dating apps are not even viable. 95%. So you are rifling through 5% of people, that's men and women, that are genuine, that are real, that aren't scammers, that are actually there to meet people and date, right? That aren't married, that are straight, like there's all these. And I keep telling people, like, no, that is not the place you want to go. Most of the people on there are not viable. You're not going to meet a genuine, I'm who I say I am, I look like my pictures, you're not gonna, it's unlikely. It's very unlikely.
What it has done is build a crutch for us not to go back to the old time way. You know what I'm saying? It was back in the days we're like, excuse me, how you doing? I'm blah, blah, blah. Nice to meet you. You know what I'm saying? We don't do that. We want to hit check, hi. We want to use emojis and symbols and stuff. I hollered at a man on the DM, man. Come on, what's all that? Everybody has lost like I said before, they've lost the roots and the foundation from which these things come from.
Right.
And it just kills the vibe.
It does. It does. And then two, this is the other thing I tell people. In my opinion, dating apps are for the lazy. So even if you do meet someone on there, you're going to have a lazy relationship, because I can be sitting, in my bedroom with my face washed and my hair cap on, doing this, right? And then doing this, messaging. It's lazy. It's what lazy people do.
Right.
But people who are genuinely like, yeah, I'm going to actually get up and look like this. I'm going to leave my home. I'm going to go to an event. I'm going to go to, a friend's house. I'm going to go out to the grocery store, wherever I'm going, and I'm going to meet people. Right. It speaks to who I am, that, yeah, I'm not lazy. I'm actually going to look like this. I'm going to go into the world and I'm going to meet people. I'm going to smile and I'm going to be friendly. And and that's the person you want to meet, because that person is actually showing up. But people on dating apps, I mean, they will message you to death. Like, you'll never meet up.
Right.
And yeah, I just tell people. And then here's again, the clinical cycle that people get into, the psychological cycle. So you get on a dating app, you get very discouraged. You get into this loop with messaging people. You don't really go on dates. And guess what? That then confirms, these people out here are crazy. The dating pool, and the men are trash and women are crazy. It just further confirms what you believe is true. It's a vicious cycle. And then people can't get off of them. I have clients that as soon as they come into me, I say, you're done with that. You're done with that. I will not work with you, and you're on the dating app. And they do. They delete it. I say, okay, now we're going to get down to business. We're going to get down to business.
Right.
Because no, you're a high quality person. You're not a lazy person. I'm going to expect you to show up. I'm going to expect you to get out of your comfort zone. And guess what? They meet people. They're like, wow, you were right. I'm meeting people. They're going to change their mindset. That's a big part of it. They're going to learn how to effectively communicate. They're going to learn how to resolve conflict in a healthy way. They're going to learn how to regulate their emotions. Like that's what's going to bring you a good quality person. That's what's going to turn you into a good quality person.
Right. Now, what do you say to individuals who says, I've never heard that before. No one never spoke to me like that.
Right.
What makes you different? These are like some of the things that are foreign.
Yeah.
Because like you stated, growing up in the 80s and 90s or what have you, you had to have what we call conversation.
Yes.
And being the fact that you had conversation, you had to know whether or not the conversation was genuine or if it was just game.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no more conversation.
Mm-mm.
There's no more dating you mentally. That's none of that. And a powerful thing is sound and light. Sound and light. What you say to a person can move them.
Mm-hmm.
What you show them can actually put you in a better place.
Mm-hmm.
I hear a lot of people say, well, I've never heard that before.
Mm-hmm.
And they get in relationships with people knowing that person, because we know what it is when you first meet a person. Let's be honest. Whether or not that person is somebody I actually want to have a relationship with, or someone I just want to have a physical experience with.
Right.
Right. And the question I guess I'm asking is, how do people today determine which one is which? Because it seems like most people can't.
Right. But you take the physical off the table. So you take the physical off the table and you're going to find out real fast what you got. You're going to find out real fast what you got.
Right.
Yeah. You say, nope, I'm not ready for that. We're not there yet. I'm not ready for that. Or I don't do casual sex or whatever, however you say it. But you remove the physical and you're going to see what you got real fast. It's not hard.
You know what? And I'm glad you mentioned that, Job, because that even goes back to what I want to say, even playing the devil's advocate and flipping on the other side. In those beginnings, how we would approach one another. Again, he says, you would know, most women would know if they're interested within that guy within the first 2 minutes of conversation.
Yep.
But now in that other side, you have some people, that are good wolves wrapped up in sheep's clothing that paint a different picture from speaking. So now when they get caught up, and like you said, they're getting caught up in the charismatic of observation. Most of the time they get caught up in the look of a person or what is attractive in a sight instead of looking at the infinite structure. What is the real structure? The superficial can come and change at a moment. But the infinite structure, if the infinite structure is powerful, then you know it from the start.
Yep.
So that's probably what I think how certain people use that narrative to build up these websites for dating or these fly-by-night apps that keep coming up. Click on me if you're interested in me. I'm all that nonsense. You know what I'm saying? So I agree, and I'm glad he brought that up because I wanted to bring that out before we moved on.
Yeah, for sure. But women fall in love with their ears, and men fall in love with their eyes. And again, this is since Adam. This is since the beginning. This is since the beginning of time. And so what I ask a woman to do is she's going to have to flip that narrative. What is he doing? What is he doing? And so a man's words may sound sweet. He may tell me a bunch of things,
Mhm.
But then I see what he actually does. I see what he does. And that's going to reveal his true character. People, they're very habitual by nature. And so, yeah, they're only going to put on a front for so long. They're going to return to their habits. And so you just be patient. And women are awful at this. Women are not patient enough. I'm speaking from experience. Just recently in the last 5 years, have I really become more patient as a woman and just take my time. But it reveals a lot. It reveals a lot when you just let time do the vetting. Let time see if that person can show up consistently. And today, like I said, it's not hard. Most people can't.
Right.
Most people can't show up. They can't consistently show up. You're going to figure out sooner rather than later who they really are.
Now, I have a question, like, because we've been talking about mostly the women's side of this relationship thing. What about the men who have been in situations where they have had their heart broken, they have put their heart on the line, and they have been in relationships with emotional unavailable individual or insecure individuals, because it goes both ways. When a man is in love with a woman or what have you, everybody knows that a man really does not choose his woman. The woman actually chooses him. She knows who she wants, and she can capture whom she wants.
Right.
So when a man is emotionally invested with a woman and he's been, heartbroken or whatever the case may be, and he's tried to work in a situation where he gives you a clean slate and it seems like it gets rejected. Because there's a lot of good guys out there.
Oh, yeah.
They just don't have the opportunity to show that they're good guys because ladies judge them because of their prior relationships or something that happened that they went through, even though he had nothing to do with that. How can we eliminate that process?
Well, I want you to keep in mind that, we're in a time right now where women are very different than our mothers and our grandmothers. They're not getting the guidance that they need. I have a lot of people on Instagram who consider me auntie. So I am Auntie Anita to a lot of people on Instagram, and they call me that. Like when they're DMing me, when they're commenting, I am auntie to a lot of people. And I am speaking to women, much younger women, much younger men. But here's the thing I tell men. So men are far more sensitive than women. Women don't believe this, but it's true. So women have an inner strength that men just don't have. That's why God chose us to have babies. Men are outwardly strong, but inside they're incredibly sensitive. Incredibly sensitive. They take breakups hard. They take divorce very hard. I have some male friends that, like I said, they've been divorced for 10 plus years. And every now and again, we'll have a conversation about their ex or the divorce. And I'm like, man, men are really, really sensitive. They're also very sensitive in terms of a woman's weapon of choice can be her words. And so I often tell women, like, check yourself, because if a man used his fists the way you use your words, you would be in trouble. So you can undercut a man, you can cut a man to the quick with your tongue. And we have to work on that. We have to work on our mouths. I'm always talking about that mouth. But here's what I would say. I would say to a guy, be the best version of yourself. Be the best version of yourself. Show up. Be masculine. That's the first thing. A woman is not your purpose. Right. She is not the reason why you're here. Your woman, as the Bible says, is your helpmeet.
Right.
Okay. She's here to assist you in whatever it is you on your path to doing. So a lot of men go wrong there. They make a woman their purpose, and then the woman can feel that. Okay, so it's all about me now. And if she cut up and you're now feeling a way, no, she's not your purpose. She's your helpmate. So you have a purpose, you have a reason for being out here. And she comes alongside that. But lead, be masculine and lead your woman. Cultivate your woman. As Dr. Miles Monroe says, you are to lead and cultivate your woman, not the other way around.
Right.
And you have a plan, you have a purpose, and you step up and you step into that. I think you're going to get a woman's, because remember, the number one thing you're after is a woman's respect. You're not after her love, you after her respect. And I tell a lot of men, if your woman's cheating on you or doing, that woman don't respect you. Can I be real? That woman does not respect you. Your number one agenda is to get her respect. She's going to love you. She's built to do that, but it's her respect that you're going to require. Like, you're not going to talk to me any kind of way. You're not going to do me any kind of way, but you have to like lead in that area. But that's what you're really after, is a woman's respect. And a lot of men say to me, well, Auntie Anita, I tried leading and she won't let me. No, there is no such thing. It's like saying she won't let me be a man.
Right.
Last I checked, you was born that way. You got the parts, don't you?
That's right.
She don't
That's
let
right.
you do anything.
Right.
But you step into that role and you lead. And guess what? If you find that you cannot consistently get the cooperation, you may need another woman.
Right.
Let me ask this before we go, because this is very important. I know we short on time, but it's that word, Ja. It's that word. And you know that word I can't stand. So when we're talking men and women before getting together, here's what I want to say. The word I hate and I can't stand is expect or expectation. To me, if you're trying to tell me what you expect of me, you're wrong. I'm not going to tell you what I expect of you. I have to talk to you about me, and you have to learn me, and vice versa. It's not what you automatically set to say, boom, 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 A, B, C, D. This is who you're going to be. Because to me, you're trying to change me in a way without giving me the chance to show you who I am, because you're already preset from stuff from your past or some of the teachings you've gotten presetting and said, well, this is what a man's supposed to be, boom, boom, boom. We get that. And this is what a woman, boom, boom, boom. But still in all, the effective communication, as what you talked about earlier, should kill an expectation or acceptance of that.
Well, I like to tell men and women to have a standard. So I have a standard and I am observing a man to see if he can meet it. Like, I'm not in the business of changing men, not at all. I have a standard. I go out, I interact with a man, and I observe if he can meet that standard. If for whatever reason he does not, my goal is never to change him. I simply state, this is the standard that I have. This is the standard I've set for myself. And, my intention is not to change you. My intention is not to make you any different than what you are, but we may not be a good fit for each other, because I do have a standard, and everyone should. Men should have a standard. Men should have a standard of how they like to be treated, how they like to be talked to. And this is where a lot of men go wrong. They don't have a standard, or they don't hold a person to that standard. And so when a woman's talking to them crazy and doing them any kind of way, I said, right there, that's the problem. You let her know what your standard is. And if she cannot meet it, you go on to the next. But no, I'm not in the business of changing men. I'm in the business of, this is the standard I have. And, I explore that with you. I have no problem talking about that. But if you can't meet it, I say, okay, we might not be the best fit for each other. That's it. And we're good. We're good. But you're right. Expectations will, in fact, lead to people being let down or, trying to change you and all of that.
Disappointed.
Yeah, but just set a standard, and men should set a standard too. I'm always telling men this. Women are not the only ones with standards and preferences. You should have standards and preferences too. And if she cannot meet them, then go about your business.
Now, the question I have is, like, women say that they've been single for so long, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have had some form of a relationship, whether it's been a committed one or not.
Right.
Right. And that's personal choice, personal preferences.
Mm-hmm.
And then they throw up their independent. When in all actuality, we are supposed to be codependent.
Yeah, interdependent. Right.
Interdependent. So how do we eliminate that whole mindset? Because they'll tell you quick, I've been single for X amount of time, blah, 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 blah. Then, but you've been having some form of relationship in some way, shape, fashion, or form. Peace, sis. How you doing? How do we get past that part? Because it always seems like it goes back to long as the physical part is there. You know what I'm saying?
The first thing I ask a person is, are they interested in interdependency? Are you interested in an interdependent relationship?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to rely on you. You're going to rely on me. Like, yeah, I'm going to support you. You're going to support me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have a standard for you. You're going to have a standard for me. Like, that's what interdependency is.
Right.
And so I strongly encourage that people find that out on the first date. Do you think you're capable of having an interdependent relationship? Do you think you're capable of that? What does that mean? Well, that means that, we're going to rely on each other. We're going to depend on each other. We're going to have each other's back. And I mean, you would not believe, I asked that question on every first date, and the man's, eyes get wide. But it's, it separates the wheat from the chaff. I'm like, okay, maybe not. Well, I'm, when you say rely on me, I'm like, well, we're good, but that's what it is. That's what it is. We're going to rely on each other. But again, you're right. We've gotten away from that. People don't want to be relied on. They don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, really sad. And we think we're out here winning in our independent state, and we're not.
Mm-hmm.
We are not winning. And let me tell you, in 2023, when everything everywhere is sky high, we need to share some bills. We need to go in on a house. We need to come together more than ever. But you can't tell people that. You cannot tell people that now. And we're not winning. We're not winning.
Now, also, too, you see that individuals are, like, we talk about single parenthood, right?
Mm-hmm.
And most people think that with single parenthood, it just speaks about the mother. There's a lot of fathers who are single parents as well.
Oh, yeah.
And when introducing someone into that dynamic and understanding that it's more than just you that you're dating, that's being dated.
Right. Mm-hmm.
How can you address that and make that more of a focal point than just a ideology or ideal of one person?
Right. But you're going to, if I'm a single mom and I meet a single dad, the goal is, again, interdependency, that we're here to help each other. If I'm a good role model for your children, you're a good role model for mine. The goal is always going to be interdependency. We're stronger together. Now, you're going to vet that person. You're going to make sure that person is, in fact, a good role model for your children, and take your time. But yes, the idea is, to come together. Right. Because you're right. I have several male friends that are full-time single fathers. They have their kids full-time. And so I say to them, find a single mom, or, there might be a lady out there who's never had kids who, would love to be a stepmom, and, make sure she's a good person. But the goal is that we come together. We're going to go farther together. We can go faster by ourselves, but we can go farther with other people. That should be the goal.
Now, earlier in the show, you had did a statistic about in 1950, it was like 70% of people that were
76.
married, 76% of people that were married.
Yep.
And that's in the Black community.
Yep.
Today is 30%.
Yeah.
But it's 100% that's promiscuous. I'll say that. Everybody is running around with one another.
Well, we're seeing, but here's what I will say about that. We are seeing a resurgence in abstinence. We're seeing a resurgence in celibacy. I'm happy. I'm happy to see it. In the last 5 years, we've seen a huge resurgence amongst men and women. There are entire movements. So I belong to several of them. One of them is called the Sexless Tribe. The other one is called, it's on Facebook. And I mean, they have thousands and thousands of, it's called Waiting Works. Waiting Works on Facebook. And then the other one's called the Sexless Tribe. There's abstinence is making a comeback. Like people are finally waking up that how we're doing things is not working. So I wouldn't say 100%. There's a larger percentage now of people who are abstaining, men and women, and I'm glad to see it.
Yes, that's interesting because when you look around and you see how outwardly everything has become sexual, everything has overtly a lot of sexual overtones,
right?
And you're trying to, sis said she heard it too. You're trying to get an individual to understand where you are here and here before you enter into a physical relationship.
Right.
And a lot of people want to say or have said, I've heard people say, if we're not connected physically, we can't connect mentally. Those
are spiritually weak people, though. And I keep it real. They're spiritually weak. I don't want any parts of it. They're faithless, godless people, and they're spiritually weak. So I'm gonna be real. I don't associate. Like I don't hear that. I don't associate with people like that. I associate with people who are strong, who are spiritual, who are faith-filled, who know that everything ain't about what I can touch. Last I checked.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want any parts of it. And I've had to come for some people on Instagram. Like, you're telling me about yourself. Right. This whole, I got to test drive it and this and that. Okay, you're telling me you're a spiritually weak person. And, I don't know what else to tell you. I got to test drive it. I got to know what I'm getting. And these are the people that are going to end up on the side of the road, crashing on the side of the road because they didn't put enough emphasis on what's really important. Because the last I checked, you might have a good time roll in the hay for 30 minutes. What you going to do for the other 23 and a half hours in a day? So the other 23 and a half hours, what are you doing? Right. And that's if I'm blowing you. Let's say it's an hour. That's 23 hours. Let's say I'm blowing your socks off for an hour. We still got 23 hours to do what? So, and again, I'm not saying that sexual intimacy is not important. It is very important in a relationship, in a romantic relationship. It is important. However, like we got to make sure that we're making the main thing, because there's going to come a time where your stuff ain't going to work.
Right.
Then what? Then what you got? So, yeah, we got to get back to basics. We got to get back to basics.
Now, you made this statement. Sis just threw me off with that statement, but that's our sister Lynn Meyer right there, okay, out of Dallas, Texas. Now, when we talk about these relationships and we always talk about the physical, right? And then people say, I need somebody that's equally yoked.
Mm-hmm.
Equally yoked. What is actually being equally yoked mean? Some say it's spiritual, some say it's the foundation of the relationship. You have to be on the same place, same page, equally yoked. Can we speak to that part?
For sure. As a person of faith, it's quite simple. Equally yoked simply means that we are both agreeing to do the relationship God's way.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we're both agreeing to do the relationship God's way. That's what equally yoked means. We're not going to be spiritually at the same place at the same time. We may not be financially, we may not be emotionally. It simply states that a man and a woman is agreeing to do the relationship God's way, not his way and not her way, God's way. When both people come to the table and they agree that they will commit and have a covenant relationship God's way. So that means the woman is going to submit, right? She's going to follow that instruction. That means the man is in fact going to submit to God, what's higher than him and his wife, right? If every instruction in the Bible they both agree to, that is equally yoked. So people get that confused all the time. Oh, I want a faith-filled man and he reads the Bible like me. No, none of us are going to be exactly the same. And he got to make the same money as me. He may not. And he got to be doing this. And no. It simply means that you and he are agreeing to do the relationship the way God says you should do it. And if that's the case, you're not going to have any problems. What we're seeing out here today, though, is most people don't want to do that. They want to make it up as they go along. They want to reinvent the wheel. Like he created it this way for a reason, because number one, it works. And number two, you're going to be happiest doing it that way. So clearly man has tried to do it its way. And this is where we got. Like, look at where we are. So at some point, we have to make the decision. Let's try it his way, right? Let's see what he says about it. That's what's going to lead us to having good outcomes.
Can I interject? I gotta flip the narrative. Watch this. I noticed that you coming from a spiritual energy, which is great, and I love it. Now we got to look at, because this is a Real 360 show. We have other people, other groups of people out there that may not share the same ideology of religion aspect from which you're stating. And then you have those such as like atheists who do not believe in that. So I would be curious, and I'm serious, I would be very curious to know what is the marital rate of the atheists versus those in other religious sects, to see if what you're saying matches to them, or if they, do they have those same issues and problems without the mentioning of a higher being. I'm serious, and that's just being real about what I say.
Well, unfortunately, where we are today, it does not matter the race. It does not matter the creed, the color, the religious, the denomination. None of that matters. The world in general is messed up. And the divorce rate is what it is, 51%. Doesn't matter if a person is atheist, doesn't matter if a person's Christian, does not matter.
No, and I hear what you're saying.
Yeah,
but
the world at large is just lost, in a lot of ways.
And I can agree with you, but I'm just listening to more and more of you emphasizing, God, the concept between God, man, and woman. That's what I'm saying. And like I said, not knocking that at all. I'm just playing the other side of the fence. And I'm not going to say devil's advocate, because that's a whole nother meaning. So again, looking at it from another point of perspective, if someone would say, well, listen, I hear what you're saying, but I don't have that religious thought or background from where I come from. This is how it is for me. We would have to give them that same honor, respect for how they grew up, to say about what problems they have within starting a relationship or being in one, in a marriage or so forth, or how they see fit. And like I said, I would be curious because it just sparked me from you saying that.
Hmm.
That's something that I would be interested in, having someone come on the show and say, "Hey, I heard Miss Stoudemire say this and that, but coming from my perspective," you know
Right.
what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
And that's just what I'm saying. That's just good dialect right there.
But there are lots of good information, clinical information. There are people who have studied marriage for 40, 50 years. They can give you
Mhm.
a lot of data and factual information on what makes marriage work. And it's not related to faith. It's not related to religion. And I would encourage that people look into that. That you really look into that research. Marriage has been thoroughly researched. And there are people out there that will tell you, people who have happy, fulfilling long-term marriages, they do this. And people whose marriages don't make it, or they stay in them and they're miserable, they do this. And so, yeah, that's some good information. Like, wouldn't you want to know what these people are doing to
Mhm.
stay happy and healthy and keep their marriage going? So there's a lot of like research that's not based on religion or based on spirituality. And I would encourage that people like research that, like learn about that for sure. Yeah. Even if we take faith out of it,
Mhm.
there's still there's behaviors,
Right.
there's skills that people can learn to be in happy, healthy, fulfilling relationships. And so yeah,
Absolutely.
that's what I would give people, because
Mhm.
I counsel people from a secular perspective, I counsel them from a Christian perspective. And yes, to my secular people, I definitely say, hey, there are skills and tools that I'm going to teach you that are going to help you in your relationship. And that'll have nothing to do with their faith or their spirituality or anything. But this is what people who've been married a long time and they're happy, this is what they tend to do or not do.
Right.
So, yeah, there's lots of research out there that I encourage that people check out.
And before we get ready to get out of here, I want to
Mhm.
ask you: can you give some tips on how to keep and a healthy, happy relationship? How do some tips to just keep things like for couples? Like, what are the things that keep a relationship going, make it happy, healthy, and things like that?
I believe if there's a man and a woman in the relationship, that they should each decide what side of the fence they're going to reside on and stay on that side for the most part. So if
Mhm.
you're a woman and you're choosing to be the feminine, then do that. If you're a man and you're choosing to be the masculine, then do that. I have some couples where the roles are reversed and it works. The woman is more of a masculine energy, she's more of the boss, and the man is more of a feminine energy. He's the person who takes orders. So
Right.
I've seen it work both ways, but 80% of us are going to prefer, the women to be the feminine and the man to be the masculine. Learn how to communicate, learn how to communicate effectively, learn how to communicate directly. Women are historically known to be covert communicators,
Mm.
and we need to get better about that. We need to open our mouth and say, you know what would feel really good? And the man says, what? And then we say what would feel really good. We can use it on the flip side. You know what doesn't feel good? What? And then you say what doesn't feel good.
Mhm.
That's it. So we need to be more direct. We need to get rid of the phrase that says he should just know. I want to kill that and bury it forever. We need to get used to repeating ourselves. Okay. This whole idea that I'm supposed to tell you something one time and you're just supposed to know it forever. No,
Mhm.
you're going to repeat yourself.
Right.
You're going to continue to work with that person. And okay. For the men, I really encourage that they work on, and this is how men are wired in their very DNA. They're very competitive. They love to win. And so a lot of men will do anything to win a woman's heart. Once they have it, they will take it like a trophy. They will put it on a shelf, and then they will go off to the next thing.
Mhm.
Men are notorious for taking their woman for granted. That is actually what leads to a lot of problems that people have in their relationship. So women, they need to watch their mouth. They need to be sweeter, and they need to watch their tone. They need to be more direct in their communication. Men need to work on their communication too, but they also need to work on this idea that, okay, I've gotten this person, yay, I won, and now I'm going to go off and do something else. Neglecting their woman. That is a fast way to lose your woman. So that's the one thing I hear over and over and over is men neglecting their woman. And then they sit on my couch and they feel blindsided. I can't believe she left. I'm like, when was the last time you went out on a date? When was the last time you complimented her? When was the last time? Yeah. And when I start asking those questions, they're like, well, So yeah, we both need to water and feed each other daily. That's the biggest one of all. So we've got to water and feed each other daily. We have to compliment each other. We have to touch each other every day, hug each other, kiss each other. We have to prioritize each other. And I get it. We have lives, we have work, we have kids. But again, this is something you chose to do. You chose to do this. And so I just want people to act like it. Like you chose this person. So act like it. Act like you want to be with this person. Act like they matter to you.
Right. And that's the key. When a person feels neglected or they don't know how you feel,
right,
they start to wonder.
And they're going to fill in those blanks. They're going to fill in those blanks. If you don't, they will.
Right. So if you don't secure your relationship, they fill in the blanks for you.
Yep. And and like you said, it goes both ways. There are women neglecting their man. There are women neglecting their man sexually. There are women neglecting their man's affection needs. Men need affection. I'm always telling women that. Men need affection. Okay. And, there are women neglecting their men. And again, then the men go off and do something she don't like. And I can't believe he did that. Well, when was the last time you had sex with him? When was the last time you hugged him? When was the last time you kissed him? So, yeah, just as guilty. So, yeah, we have to do better. And again, this is what we chose. No other place in our lives can we enter into something and neglect it. We can't do that at our job. We don't do that with our kids. We don't do that with our dog.
Right.
We take our dog out for a walk, feed him, water him. We give our dog more attention than we give our mate.
Right.
That's a problem. That's a huge problem.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have come into the closing of the show, and this has been a fantastic show.
Yeah, excellent show.
Thank you, Miss Anita Stoudemire, for coming on Real2reel360. Can you tell all our followers and listeners where they can find you, how they can contact you, how they can just get into a better situation for themselves?
How they can build a center and put you right in it.
Right.
Sure. So my platform is called Better Love Movement. And if you type that into Google, it will take you to Instagram, Facebook, my YouTube, my podcast. I have written a book for single women and for women in relationships. So single women, the book is called Choose Well, a simple formula to determine the best man for you. Okay, because women really suck at choosing good men. So they needed a blueprint. And for married women or women in relationships, it's called Do Well, a feminine woman's guide to relationship success. Okay. And you can get the links to those books over on Amazon or in my YouTube channel, my Instagram. But yeah, if you just type in Better Love Movement, you're going to find everything there is to know about me and what I do.
Do you have it on ebooks as well? Because some women don't like to read, but they'll follow along. And I'm just saying it. I'm just saying.
Okay. Yep.
I'm just saying.
You didn't have to say it that way.
Okay.
We're going to get in trouble for that. We're going to get in trouble for that.
Oh my goodness.
Just threw us under the bus together. You know what I mean?
I'm keeping it 100.
Speaking of that, we're going to have him on the show this week. But go ahead.
But it was a pleasure and an honor to have you aboard.
Thank you
Anise,
so
like,
much. Thank you for having me. Yeah,
truly
yeah.
insightful, and
Mhm.
we definitely want you to come back. I
All right.
definitely want you to come back. You don't have a home away. Matter of fact, I got a couch for you right here.
Okay.
If you want to hold a session, there's a couch for you right here.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've been blessed. At this moment in time, big bro, take it over.
Okay. If you give us 2 minutes, please don't go nowhere. We're going to take you backstage, and I'm going to make sure you get a copy of this and everything. So just hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, you have truly been inspired. I've truly been inspired, and I'm sure you all have. We want to thank everybody for their comments. We want to thank everybody for their text messages coming in, the questions and stuff like that. Continue to support Real2reel360, and we'll keep bringing you the best of the best contents as possible. All right. On behalf of my brother Joshua Melala, this is DJ K Wise, aka Kato, and we got it here, y'all. Peace.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we starting to come to the end of the show. Right now, I want to take the time out and thank our guests for coming on. Also, too, we want to make sure that y'all listening and subscribing, and tell a friend and keep sharing, because we're going to keep bringing y'all the real content. You know what I mean? So, DJ K Wise, my brother, take us up out of here, son.
True indeed. I want to give a big shout out to the nation of gods and nurses, to all the human families on the planet Earth. I say peace. But to our subscribers, those who continue to watch and listen to the show each and every time we come on, I give a big shout out of love, peace, and happiness to you. The beast of man, woman, and child of the you and I verse. It's time for us to disperse. We bring the best, not the worst. We thank you once again for tuning in to the Real 360. Bring a friend to hit that like and subscribe, so we continue to grow, to bring more knowledge and wisdom to you. Upon our show, you make it possible for us to do what we do. Now it's time I end it.